Anyway, that sets up our big debate of the day. Which national championship team was better, 2014 Ohio State or 2023 Michigan? Jake Butt, you have the floor.
Okay, so you want to talk about adversity. I just wanted to acknowledge this real quick. Real adversity. Yes, that was also self-inflicted when you guys dropped a game to Virginia Tech.
No,
Inexcusable.
I will talk about that.
Okay, we can talk about it, but I'm just going to go to the numbers because the strength of that Buckeye team was the offense. 5th in college football in total offense. Okay, we'll talk about the defense.
Yep.
So let's just take a little bit of comparison and say, okay, the Washington team that Michigan played in the national title game this year had the 12th best offense. Penix was a better quarterback than who you had down the stretch, a phenomenal guy.
Sure.
Great receivers. They were the Joe Moore Award winning offensive line. That team was talented. So let's take a look real quick at the numbers Washington put up and use it as a benchmark throughout the season. Washington, 36 points per game, near 460 yards per game. Look at this right here. Look at this.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Very similar numbers. Basically, the point is you say that's explosive. And then look what happened when they met that Michigan defense.
About 10% better on third down.
36-13.
I mean,
460 yards
per
to
game.
300. Third down percentage, they were completely shut down.
Okay.
So now I'm going to talk about matchups, okay? Because that Michigan D-line is like a hockey team. They're going to rotate. Your O-line was good, certainly. That D-line's going to rotate and dominate them like they did against Washington, okay? So then you say you got Michael Thomas Jr. We have options. We could put Will Johnson on him, but maybe we don't. Maybe we put Josh Wallace on Michael Thomas and we say, yes. Oh,
bro, Josh Wallace.
Yes.
Bro,
yes.
burnt
and you should know this as a defensive guy. Burnt toast because we're going to double team him everywhere we go.
Okay,
and Will Johnson's shutting down Posey.
Good.
Will Johnson's shutting down Posey on the backside, and then Mikey Sainers still to watch.
Okay. This is interesting. All right, so then what are you going to do about Ezekiel Elliott, who was giving 11 yards per carry at that point in the year?
Because you never saw a defensive line. On your run, you never saw a defensive line or a defensive front like Michigan.
You never saw a running back who could, in an offensive line, who could tote the rock the way Ohio State could in 14. Taylor Decker, first-round pick. Billy Price, first-round pick. Pat Elflein, your boy.
Yes.
A former wrestler, a real gritty guy there in the trenches, understands leverage. Third-round pick, really good player. And then you had Ezekiel Elliott, who was a top 5 pick. Let me run through some of Zeke's stats here. And you left him off of the top 5 thing, which was crazy after looking at this. So 2014, he had 9 games of 100 or more rushing yards. In 2015, he only had 1 game with less than 100 rushing yards, by the way. 3 games he had 200-plus rushing yards. Those were all 3 games in the postseason. 11 yards per carry against Wisconsin. Went for 220 overall. 11.5 yards per carry against Alabama, who was giving up 88 yards on the ground per game. This man went for 230, and then he went for 246 against Oregon. Where's the answer for that?
I'll tell you the answer. It's all over Michigan's roster. Mason Graham will be a top 10 pick. Kenneth Grant could be a first-round pick.
And
you could literally go down the line. Chris Jenkins is an absolute stud. So the interior is going to give you guys trouble. And I love Pat Elflein. He's my boy. He's a phenomenon. He's going to get his in this game. I'm going to say that. But you look at this Michigan defensive front. They can put 7 in the box. They can build advantageous numbers. And Will Johnson and Mikey Sainers still are going to hold their own, out on their own. Plus, the numbers look great, but it was the scheme and the identity in the
one-on-one with Mike Thomas and Josh Wallace while you stack the box, bro. Mike Thomas is running away from people.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better prospect than anyone they had on that roster. And what happened when he played Will Johnson?
Okay, they didn't have the balance, though. This is an offense, and this is what you need to understand why this offense was so dangerous over the course of the year.
Marvin and Ibuka
they did not. Ohio State
that's a better receiving core than you had.
Stop talking
so I
can explain
I'm preaching.
This. Oh, quit preaching. This ain't church, buddy. So stop that. Ohio State this past year was not balanced on offense the way Ohio State was in 14. They gave you 250 a game rushing and 250 a game passing. Let me get through my cards here so I can get you the actual numbers. 264 yards per game rushing and 247 yards per game passing. That is a balanced offense. You don't know where it's going to come from. You think you want to stack the box. You think you want to put guys in. You can't do it. They can hurt you too many different ways. That was the genius and the danger of playing Ohio State that year is we could get you however we wanted to.
Okay, let's talk about Michigan's offense because you like balance, whereas Michigan said we're going to put our foot on our gas. We're going to put our foot on the gas in both ways. We don't worry about balance. We're just going to beat you up for an entire game, and we're not going to lose to Virginia Tech because we're too mature and we have too much heart.
We'll talk about that in a sec.
How about this? Ohio State, I was shocked. 26 in total defense. Yeah. They had you guys had the 34th run defense. Yep. Michigan played 7 defenses that were higher rated than 26 in total defense. 70. They averaged 31 points versus those defenses in their sleep without their head coach.
Sure. All right, so let's talk about that real quick. So Michigan's going to put run defense. Hold on. We played Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship. Melvin Gordon was a Heisman finalist that year. 2 games before that, this man rushed for over 400 yards. We held him to 76 yards, 2.9 per carry. X'd him out of the game plan. He was done. Get him out of here. Then the next week, you know what we did? Not the next week, but the next game, you know what we did? We had Derrick Henry. T-Bob had him as one of the top 5 players since 2000 in the SEC. That man had nothing on us. They went away from him because it wasn't that effective. They felt like they needed to try to throw the ball to gain an advantage. Their run game was not coming together the way they needed it to. And so when you start going down the line with all that stuff, to me, we can talk about who's running the ball, who you guys played that had better defense. This is what you didn't know. You want to talk about how good Michigan's defense was this year, and I'll give it to you. They were really good. Michigan, 83 tackles for loss this year. Ohio State, 110 in 2014. Michigan, 39 sacks. Ohio State, 45 sacks. Michigan, 14 forced fumbles. Ohio State, 16 forced fumbles. Michigan, 18 interceptions. Ohio State, 25. We're disruptive as hell. We're taking the ball away. We're getting sacks. We're hitting your quarterback. These are all the things that good defenses do.
Of course, you're going to have more opportunities for TFLs when you're losing to Virginia Tech and you're playing from behind, but that didn't happen to Michigan.
Let's talk about that real quick. So I feel like people forget the story of 2014, and this is part of the reason why this Ohio State team is different, because he's talking like, oh, we're going to run through them like it's his current crop where everybody's called him soft. Nobody said that about the teams I was playing on. So in training camp, we lost Braxton Miller, who's our starting quarterback. This was a 2-time Silver Football winner. He's a 2-time quarterback of the year, 2-time offensive player of the year in the Big Ten. This dude was phenomenal. We lost him in training camp just 2 weeks before the season started. So who do we go to? A redshirt freshman. His name is Joe Thomas Barrett. People in Michigan know him right now because he's the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Detroit Lions. This man was rehabbing off of an ACL injury. Of course it wasn't great. You want to know what he was by the end of the year? This guy went on to be Big Ten quarterback of the year in 14, first team All Big Ten in 14, freshman of the year in 14, was a 3rd team All-American. By the way, the only quarterback to start in and win 4 games in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, if you want to go ahead and put that in the fun fact bin, right? So this is a type of adversity that we had to overcome. Not to mention, JT goes down at the end of the year, so Cardale Jones has to step in. Not to mention a teammate that we had, rest in peace, Costa Cara George, who went missing for a couple of days and tragically committed suicide. But these are the ways that teams rise up. This is what we had to overcome. And just in case anybody was wondering, you want to talk about toughness and grit and all that kind of stuff, Cardale Jones, Landon Collins is really good safety, took his shoulder out. That boy tapped out in the Alabama game. Cardale Jones ran over a nose guard in the national championship game. Those boys tapped out. Marcus Mariota didn't want to play. That dude looked completely different. This is what we did to people. We physically harmed people and enjoyed it, and that's why we're winning this game.
I will not downplay anything you said, and I'll say you spoke facts, but it pales in comparison to what Michigan had to endure this year. Who are you when the entire world stands against you? That's what Michigan had to go through.
I'll tell you.
You lose your head coach, one of the best coaches in football history. You lose him and you have to win. J.J. McCarthy, he's overrated. Blake Corum's significant knee surgery in the offseason. Is he going to be the same? Oh, well, yes, he's going to be even better. And that's when his guy, Donovan Edwards, was not playing great football throughout the year. Then you say, the schedule's patty cake. Michigan's not that good. They can't do it. They can't beat Nick Saban. They can't beat Washington, Michael Penix, and those talented wide receivers, and that Joe Moore, and they dominated them. In the biggest moments, Michigan rose, and that was with all that adversity. That's the truth, and they did it without a blemish on their record. That's the difference maker right there.
Yeah, that sounds all fine and dandy. The thing that I will tell you, asked about how you rise in the face of adversity. never lost as underdogs. So you better hope that we were favored in that football game, because if we were going in there as underdogs, 4.5-point dogs to Wisconsin, beat them by 59. We were 9-point dogs to Alabama, beat them by a touchdown. And to Oregon, we were 6.5-point dogs and we beat them by 22. So you better hope that we're favored, because if we're underdogs, we're beating ass.